Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, the podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host, Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of December 24th, 2020, including Halo is sunsetting online services for the Xbox 360 titles, the news is so slow, ho ho ho, and more. I didn't realize this until today when I was getting ready to record, but I guess the show is going live on December 24th, which is, of course, Christmas Eve. So let me start this week's episode by saying Merry Happy to all of you and whatever holidays you celebrate this holiday season. Regardless, like I said, I think I actually said this last year on the podcast as well, but, you know, the special thing about this time of year isn't really, a specific holiday, whether that be, Hanukkah or Christmas or Kwanzaa or whatever the fuck it is people celebrate these days. But it's just like that this time of year, there's like a collective feeling of like, just like we should be a little happier. There's like more of a relaxed attitude. I feel like whether you're at school or work, there's just more of like this lax attitude of like, it's the holidays, loosen up, lighten up a little bit. There's just like this collective thing that people are just all looking forward to, whether it be a specific holiday or a specific day off or like vacation, whatever it is. Just, I don't know. That's what I like most about this season. It's not a specific day or event. It's just the general like lax feeling. I don't know. It feels like the only time of the year where like everyone just kind of takes a step back and slows down for a second, which is nice in a world where everything's constantly moving so fast. So merry, happy, whatever it is you are celebrating this year, this season, this month, this day, this week, whatever, and Happy New Year's, of course. I guess the show will be back. Xbox On doesn't take weeks off. We're not like those other podcasts you listen to where these hosts feel so entitled to their time that they say, oh, you know what, we're taking a day off. We're gonna take a couple weeks off here for the holidays, spend some time with our families. Fuck family. You know what I said to my family? They say, Jesse, can you come home? We all miss you. We haven't seen you in forever. We miss you. I said, you think I fucking care about you guys? I've got an audience sometimes comment in and talk to me about Xbox. Do you know what that means compared to like my family? Like, fuck you. And so that's what I do. I throw them all away and I say, nah, we got a show to do. So I'm here every week, guys. I don't give a shit if there's news. And if the opening little bumper there didn't already give it away, yeah, this is a fucking slow news week. So if you're generally someone here who listens to the show because you like to skip through the comments and the banter and get kind of into the Xbox news, well, you're going to be fucking pissed out of luck, because while we do have news, there will be a news segment. We're going to follow the normal run of show. It's definitely a bare bones news week. So I think I'm just going to stroll and indulge a little more than usual, because I don't give a shit what's going on in the world of Xbox. I'm going to take at least an hour and a half of your week, and that's just what I do. So with that said, let's jump into some comments and things like that. Oh, actually, before I jump into comments, I meant to say this earlier. So for next week's show will go live on New Year's Eve. So technically next week is the last episode of the year. I want to do a fun segment since there's almost definitely going to be like no news of relevance next week. So comment in this week, go over to youtube.com/secondbestgaming and click on the Xbox On podcast playlist and click on the latest episode and leave a comment with, and I'm going to be really loose with this, like your favorite game of 2020, your favorite games of 2020. It doesn't even have to be a game that was released in 2020. It just has to be like your favorite gaming experience or video game or set of games you played this year in 2020. And so we can do kind of like a retrospective. I have some plans for next week. We'll do kind of a game awards, game of the year kind of thing segment. I've got some stuff planned with what I'm going to do for my picks and some formatting. But because typically that last week of December is normally just one of the most obnoxiously slow news weeks of the year, we're just going to have some fun with it next week. So write in with, however you want to format that, whether it's a game, a couple of games, something this year, something from previous year. One of the interesting things about 2020 is because so many of us spent so much time indoors, I think 2020 was kind of the year of the backlog, where I feel like, I know for myself at least, I got a lot of backlog knocked out, which isn't something I normally do. So I assume there's a lot more out there who have a similar story to tell, where 2020 was the year of I discovered a new franchise, or I finally got around to playing this game I never thought I'd play. So whatever it is, whether it's that or a 2020 specific game or something about the new consoles, write in with something like your picks, your top picks of the year, or some moments or games or something related to this segment. So go ahead and comment in with that. We'll do that segment next week. I think that should be a lot of fun. And with that said, let's jump into our regular comment section this week. As I already said, it comes from YouTube. You know how to find it. If you don't, well, that just makes it more cool and exclusive, and you'll never know, so fuck you. But our first comment here comes from Henley Merrill, who says, "Happy holidays." Well, happy holidays to you as well, Henley. Thank you for writing in. Hope you have a great, safe, and merry whatever it is week. I don't really know how this set of special days works. I think it's about a week roughly. And then Mr. Miggy comes in and says, "You have to try those Pop-Tarts. They're the best." Referring to, I think you said peanut butter and chocolate Pop-Tarts. And then you say, "I find it funny how you love Taco Bell and Arby's, considering I used to work for each of them, back when Arby's still sold Pepsi, of course. Ooh, and you're 2 years older than me. My quarter-life crisis is figuring out what to do with my life. Mr. Beast now has a burger." Okay, that's a lot right there. Quarter-life crisis is figuring out what to do with your life. Well, first of all, Mr. Miggy, if my math is correct, and I think it is, I'm just doing my age minus 2. You're about 23 years old right now, and I gotta be honest, I don't think anyone knows what the fuck they want to do with their lives. I think that's why so many people jump careers in their 30s and things like that. I don't know what I want to do, hell if I know what I want to do. When I was a kid, I just wanted to be a rock star forever, and now I'm like 25. I'm like, oh shit, probably should have thought of something realistic. And here I am, podcasting to you about Xbox. Guys, if you want to help me figure out what to do with my life, make me very famous. Tell your friends. Subscribe to my Patreon. Throw lots of money at me, and then maybe I can be a famous content creator. But Mr. Miggy, I wouldn't worry about that too much. It's okay not knowing what you want to do with your life. It's just I think it's just important that maybe if you don't know exactly what it is you want to do, you just keep yourself very open and flexible to new things. I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make is getting too comfortable with a specific setup or situation in life. So I think whenever you're in a rut where you don't know what it is you want to do with your life, you should chase new and maybe things that are a little uncertain or discomforting because it's just different. And you should chase a lot of that and embrace it a lot. And maybe that will help lead you into something you want to do, or at least reveal more about yourself that you didn't know. But this isn't a self-help podcast, so I don't give a shit what you want to do. What I care about is what your favorite games of the year were. So let me know, Mr. Miggy. And you say Mr. Beast now has a burger. Yes, he does. I didn't even know who Mr. Beast was until this past week when all that news broke. But yeah, the very, very famous YouTube guy has a new burger thing you can order through I think DoorDash or Uber Eats or something like that. I only know about this because I'm a huge fan of Review Bra, Report of the Week on YouTube, and he reviewed Mr. Beast's menu at his new burger establishment, and that's how I found out about that. But thank you for writing in and letting the audience know. Mr. Beast, who is a YouTuber, a very famous YouTuber, it does indeed have a chain of burger restaurants now, all out of nowhere. Lethal Migraine says, "Around Christmas, those divine Mexican fries are coming back to the menu at Taco Bell. I'm excited." I gotta be honest with you, Lethal Migraine. It's like you and I are just always butting heads on preferences here, but I like the fries at Taco Bell just fine. I'm not trying to shit on them, but that is one of those few Taco Bell food items where I never really got the appeal. They're good. I've had them a couple times, but even when they come back, they come and go. It's one of those reoccurring menu items. I don't really go out of my way for Taco Bell fries. They're just, it's fine. I think the only times I've ever really had them was once, the first time they came out, out of curiosity and obligation, of course, to have the new menu item. And then every time I've had them since then, it's only been because my girlfriend's like, "Oh, they have the fries back, get those." So that's the only time I've ever really had them, but they're fine. I'm glad you like them. I don't know, man. It's yeah, you could get fries at Taco Bell, or you could just get another couple value menu items and some loaded grillers, some beefy burritos for $1. I don't know. I feel like that's a little more tantalizing when you're looking at something supplemental to go with your Crunchwrap Supreme or chalupas, but to each his own. My mother says, "Sipping my ketchup smoothie and enjoying the show. You do not want to ever go to a Shoney's. Worst place ever. Worse than a Waffle House." I like Waffle House. "It's just reheated industrialized food, probably similar to hospital food. It's not even real. Save your money. Even McDonald's is better than Shoney's." Well, you didn't do a good job of turning me off of Shoney's because, one, I like Waffle House. Two, of course, McDonald's is better. There are not many things in this world better than McDonald's, so no shit. But yeah, I mean, I'm still going to try Shoney's against your best wishes, mother. So can't stop me now. Joe Murphy comes in and says, there are too many Xbox games I want to play. It's hard to pick what to play first, second, and third. I did move Cyberpunk 2077 until February. Well, I love your show in the food/soda talks. Well, thanks for writing, Joe. Love having you comment in. And that sounded a little disingenuous in the way I said it, but I do mean that. I really appreciate each and every one of you that writes, and it does mean a lot to me. But you say, I know you're not asking, you didn't pose this as a question, but I'm going to answer it like a question anyway, because I'm that self-important. But you say, it's hard to pick between what to play first, second, and third. For this, I mean, I think a lot of us have that problem, as I was mentioning earlier about the backlog, but that's definitely something I run into a lot, where it's like, oh man, you try to like make a little bit of a roadmap for like the next couple of games you're going to play, and it's very overwhelming. I find it like the more you can try to not have a roadmap, the less you can try and stress yourself about what to play and when you have to play it, the more you can just focus in on what you're currently playing and forget about it. For example, at the very beginning of December, I was at the tail end of Yakuza Kiwami 2, and I was really stressing myself over like, I got to get this one finished before Cyberpunk comes out and all this crap. And then, kind of last minute, I was like, dude, fuck Cyberpunk. I'll just wait until it's patched more. And like, why am I rushing myself through Yakuza? I'm enjoying the game. Just enjoy the game and play it now and whatever. And then when I finished it, my kind of response was like, well, now I just want to put off Cyberpunk for a while, because combination of, obviously what's going on with the game, with it needing a lot more work, but also because I got, like I mentioned last week, I just got a lot going on with my job right now. That's kind of, I have a lot of work that's following me home, until for at least a couple more weeks. So I'm trying to put off any like really big games, like big open world story driven games. And I'm really grateful for this situation, actually, because what happened was I was like, well, I can't jump into Cyberpunk. I don't really want to commit to anything. It's the holidays. I got a lot going on with work. I just, I kind of need it. Like, my gaming time needs to be something a little more mindless or a little less committed. And so I've just really been doubling and now tripling down on just playing through all these Call of Duty games. As I mentioned last week, I was playing some Black Ops 2, and so I keep playing these Call of Duty games, and it's been really nice for me to kind of like go back and redo this series of Black Ops titles that I never knew I'd get back to playing, and I'm really enjoying it. And then I had the realization, it's like, well, why are you spending this precious gaming time replaying something you've already played before when you could like finish something else that you've never played before? Like I kind of on and off go back and forth with Doom Eternal and Psychonauts, trying to finish those games for the first time, but I'm not feeling it right now. So I think there's something to be said about just kind of ignoring the urge and trying to suppress the urge to make a roadmap for what you're going to play and when you're going to play it, and to just try and indulge in whatever speaks to you in that moment. Like, yeah, like you could say it's a waste of time for me to go back and play Black Ops 1 and 2 again, games I've already beaten and played extensively, 8-10 years ago. Like, that's kind of a waste of my gaming time. I should use this precious limited time to play something I haven't played before. But on the flip side, it's like I'm having so much fun replaying these games I never thought I'd play again, that I think you could argue the value of it just enjoying my time and indulging in this thing I never thought I would enjoy, but I'm just strangely really feeling right now, is more valuable than forcing myself to play something new that I may or may not enjoy as much as, what I'm doing right now. So I know you didn't ask this as a question, you were just making a statement, but allow me to jump in here and just say, to the best of your ability, I think it can really be beneficial to try and not fixate too much on what you have to play, what you feel obligated to play, and what order you need to play these games. Just play whatever feels right. Be a heathen. Just do what feels good. Get into the library on your Xbox dashboard, look at what you have, and say, this is what I want to play right now. Find the thing that's scratching the itch and say, that's good. I want more of that. So whatever. Lethal Migraine comes back and says, Arby's Turkey Ranch Bacon Market Fresh Sandwich is one of the best fast food items there is. I'll be honest with you, Lethal Migraine, I've never had that sandwich before, but I definitely want to try it now. I'm so determined to find more things we have in common. But yeah, I like turkey, I like ranch bacon, that all sounds good. I like Arby's, so I want to give that a try. I've always been more, I think I've said this before, I'm always more of a chicken guy when it comes to Arby's. I really like, they have a couple of chicken sandwiches and their sliders, of course, which are all very good. So I will branch out and try that turkey sandwich on your recommendation. You better pray it's good. Jay comes in and says, this is a random shout out to your Australian listeners, but Hungry Jack's, Red Rooster, Nando's, Grilled, Oporto, Chicken Treat, Zambrero, Noodle Box. What's your favorite? So these are a bunch of what I assume are Australian fast food establishments, and you're reaching out to our Australian friends who listen to the show and saying, guys, what do you prefer? Now, so Jay, I really appreciate this comment a lot for a couple of reasons, and here's what I have to say. So first of all, I'm mindful of this sometimes. You know, we get a little too indulgent on the podcast and we talk about, like, obviously everyone in the fucking face of the earth knows what McDonald's is, but sometimes we talk about the Popeyes or the Arby's or something like that. And I'm well aware that, like, these restaurants don't exist all over the world. So some of these listeners are like, what the fuck's an Arby's? You know, like, who the hell, why would you name a restaurant Zaxby's? And here we are talking about them anyway. And I don't mean to be so, you know, inconsiderate of certain portions of the audience by talking in things that, like, only a specific portion knows of, but we got to do it. All fast food is created equal, and we got to have these important conversations. But what I really appreciate about this is you've given us the opportunity to flip the script. So now the Australian listeners can kind of indulge in hearing a little bit about the restaurants they're familiar with, much in the way that, you know, I'm familiar with some of these fast food restaurants you've never heard of. And then also, I think it's a fun learning opportunity for a lot of us non-Australian listeners to be like, oh man, I've never heard of that. You know, whether we ever make it over to Australia or not, you know, before COVID destroys us all, I think it's just cool to know about these places. I'm someone who's generally just interested in stupid shit like this random chicken restaurant that doesn't operate in the US. So stuff like that is interesting to me. So what I want to do here is I want to pull up these restaurants and learn what we're missing out on. Let's see, what is Hungry Jack's? What the fuck is this Hungry Jack's? I'm on Bing right now. I'm searching it up. So Hungry Jack's is a franchise of, oh, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, this looks like a knockoff Burger King, and then I see here Wikipedia says Hungry Jack's Party Limited is an Australian fast food franchise of the Burger King Corporation. So this is, you guys don't have Burger King in Australia? You have Hungry Jack's instead? Guys, come on. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, it's in Wales as well. So you guys know it over in the Europe part of the world. So okay, I didn't know that. For some reason I thought Burger King was probably all throughout Europe as well. Okay, here we go. Fun fact, I believe Tim Hortons bought Burger King like 5 years ago or something. So I think Burger King is now Canadian owned, but whatever. American started, so that's all that matters. But yeah, here we go. Hungry Jack's. I'm looking at a picture of one. Now, I don't know if the modern locations look like this, but it's a little reminiscent of like what Burger King's used to look like back in the 90s with like the play place, you know, the little playground and kind of the more fun and poppy colors and signs. Has personality and charm to it, unlike everything from today that just has to look so fucking devoid of personality and any fucking interesting aesthetic appeal. So I am very much digging, as the kids would say, the look of a Hungry Jack. Oh, okay. So all right. Yeah, guys, so if you don't know what Hungry Jack's is, look it up. This is, I guess, the Burger King. I would like to know a little more about the menu. Oh, yeah, that's just fucking Burger King. Okay, so Hungry Jack's is just Burger King for you guys. So, I mean, I'm sure it tastes a little different. You guys probably put, like, kangaroo meat and shit in your Hungry Jack's, but this is essentially just, yeah, okay. I can get down with this. This looks good. Yeah, if I'm ever in the Outback or in Wales, whatever, for something, whatever reason, I'm probably going to have to check out the Hungry Jack's. I'm down with that shit. Good. Let's look up another one. Okay, Red Rooster. I just got it. I don't mean to go in order, but... Okay, so Red Rooster, Australian fast food chain restaurant founded in 1972, blah, 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 specializes in roasted chicken, burgers, wraps, salads, beverages, whatever desserts. Okay, I can do this. So Red Rooster, let's look at the pictures. Let's see what this is all about. I should specify Red Rooster restaurant because when I just typed in Red Rooster, the image search gave me a lot of pictures of actual roosters. So that was... not a smart idea. But yeah, okay. This place, I'm not feeling the look, okay? I don't like this. What is this? They have servers here? What is this? Why are there all these men in vests? Okay, that looks like a regular grab and go spot. Okay, I'm not enjoying the aesthetic. It looks a little too like, I don't know, it looks a little too hipster. I'm seeing like some places that look like fast food restaurants and some places that look like table service restaurants. So I'm a little put off by what Red Roosters is putting out here. So let's try one more, okay? Okay, actually, we gotta try two more. I need to do Nando's and Noodle Box. I need to know what these are. Okay, so Nando's is a South African restaurant chain that specializes in Portuguese African Portuguese African food. That sounds awesome. Including signature flame-grilled peri-peri style chicken. That's fucking awesome. Okay, let's look up pictures of Nando's and see what we got going on. For some reason, the name Nando's made me think, or Nando's, or however you're supposed to say it, made me think that we're going to see like some fucking like beach, surfs up, fish tacos, and Bud Light kind of restaurant. But I guess, I don't know why. I don't know why I was expecting that. This looks a little tables. Now, Jay, I'm a little concerned why you chose these restaurants that are a little more table service focused. Because we're talking about fast food. If you got to sit down, if you got to have a waiter ask what you want to eat, that's too slow. We're gamers. We got to eat on the go because we got places to be. We got games to beat. We have backlogs to address. And you want me to sit down and wait for a goddamn waiter to take my order? No. We talk about fast food because we live fast lives. I encourage you to get your act together here. Okay, Nando's. All right, last one. Noodle Box. I want to try this one. Okay, Noodle Box is an Australian stir-fried noodle quick service restaurant chain headquartered in Melbourne, Victoria. Let's look at pictures. All right, so this is what I want to see. This is like some fucking, goddamn Panda Express looking motherfuckers you got over here. All right, yeah, there you go. This looks like basically Australian Panda Express. I like what I'm seeing here. Noodle Box. Fun exterior on the restaurants. Interesting menu items. I would eat at a Noodle Box. Jay, if I ever make my way over to Australia, if I ever am brave enough to swim across the ocean, I will go to a Noodle Box. Thank you for turning me on to this. And to our other Australian listeners, I'm a little disappointed that not many of you, or no one really wrote in to, back up the restaurants Jay mentioned here. I would have liked to have had this conversation a little more. If you are an Australian listener, you don't have to be Australian. If you are a listener who is familiar with any of these brands, it looks like some of them operate in other parts of the world, or if you're just someone who's been to one of these countries where these restaurants exist, please feel free to speak to them. I'd like to know more of your thoughts and opinions, but I do appreciate you writing in with that, Jay. And to the rest of you Australian listeners, come on, guys. Get it together. My brother Josiah comes in and he says, you just said Deadites from Evil Dead are zombies. Okay, cancel Halo, cancel Mountain Dew, cancel McDonald's, cancel Xbox On. Sprinting and clambering / mantling and aiming down sights and Back for Blood. It's funny because no one thinks twice about it, but if you add any of those features to Halo, people lose their fucking minds. Well, yes, I agree to all of that. All of that is true, including the part where you should cancel me. Next, Adam Ziso comes back in after commenting last week and says, thanks a lot. It's really something special to have you answer on the podcast. Well, I appreciate you writing in. It's always feels good to have new listeners or new commenters join in on the conversation. You say, I also love McDonald's for the Big Mac, quarter pounder, double cheeseburger, something that should get the Nobel Prize. It's a higher alchemy of taste. Well, that's actually a really good way to put it. I've never liked darker games. Like Pokemon and Zelda were in the lead for years. I think what you're trying to say is that you've never really leaned towards more like dark or mature games, and that you preferred games like Zelda and Pokemon, if I'm reading that correctly. And then you said, back to the food, steering back to what really matters, you say, do you prefer the double cheeseburger over the quarter pounder too? Best to eat both, I know. I finished drinking a cola thanks to you now, and I have a Pepsi Max packet at home, but it's not the same as regular Pepsi. Well, that's true, but, at least you got something. All right, let's answer the most important question here first. You say, do you prefer the double cheeseburger to the quarter pounder? I don't know if this conversation's been had on the podcast before, but you bring up a really important thing here. In fact, this is probably one of the biggest conundrums in modern history, I think, because anyone who knows their way around a McDonald's menu knows that, first of all, the McDouble is a fucking disgrace. If you're someone who tries to save a quick 30 to 60 cents and you order McDouble instead of a double cheeseburger, there's a special place for you in hell. Just know that. So get that off your mind for a quick second. But the double cheeseburger and the quarter pounder, not the double quarter pounder, the regular classic quarter pounder and the double cheeseburger, those two are by far the best sandwiches. I know they're so famous for, the Big Mac or whatever. No, the best McDonald's sandwiches are definitely the double cheeseburger and the quarter pounder. And when I was younger, I used to think, well, the double cheeseburger probably is just it's probably a little bit lower in terms of, or ranks just below the quarter pounder, because the double cheeseburger is the one you get because it's cheaper than the quarter pounder, right? So that's why the double cheeseburger was often the one I ordered more but didn't prefer as much. And then after just a few more times of having the quarter pounder, I came to the realization that that's actually not the case, because the reality is the double cheeseburger and the quarter pounder are one of the rarest examples in life of when something is so fucking good that there's no possible way to have an objective or even subjective conversation about which one is superior. I think it is just both cut and clear that both the double cheeseburger and the quarter pounder from McDonald's are equally perfect sandwiches. And the only reason why both exist instead of like one being superior over the other is because there's a time and a place for each of them. The double cheeseburger, in my opinion, is the go-to McDonald's burger. It's the one you're going to get, 7 out of 10 times. It's just so goddamn good. Of course, you're going to ask for no ketchup because you love your mother and you don't hate Jesus Christ, of course. But the quarter pounder is this really special thing where, like, when you are in the mood, that 30% where you're like, hey, I'm gonna bust out the wall and just go nuts today at McDonald's, and you get the quarter pounder. There's something so special about it that it's only one patty, but the amount of meat to bun, that meat to bun ratio is so perfected that it's solid. You don't need the second patty. And the thicker sliced onions are so amazing. Like, and the diced onions from McDonald's are iconic. Let's not pretend that they're not amazing, because of course they are. But the thick ass, raw, strong onions on the quarter pounder really pull that sandwich together. It's just such an amazing addition to that burger, and it really helps pull it together. And of course, the quarter pounder, like, you just taste it's like you taste the flavor of the meat more without it being overbearing. It still has such a balanced flavor profile. So the quarter pounder is just, I don't know, it's so weird. It's like every time I eat a double cheeseburger, I'm like, this is the best. And then I eat a quarter pounder, I'm like, no, this is the best. And they're just so special that I could literally never choose between the two. And I don't mean that as a cop-out. I just genuinely mean it, that they are both absolutely 10 out of 10, perfect. Couldn't be any better if they tried sandwiches. And God, I mean, just thinking about it, it's like, I mean, like, it's such a win-win situation regardless of which one you get. But I mean, if you're really having a good day, like if you got an A on your Algebra 1 test and you really want to celebrate it, maybe you go to McDonald's and you say, fuck it, I'm probably gonna die, from something else anyway, so give me a double cheeseburger and a quarter pounder, no ketchup. And that's just the best day ever. Thank you for writing in with that, Adam Ziso. And then our next comment here comes from Master Doom Chief, one of my favorite names. He says, it's such a shame that they have bad console ports, referring, of course, to Cyberpunk 2077. But it is a pretty good game underneath all the ugliness. On my PC, it runs like water. So, yeah, I mean, first of all, awesome for you that you have a nice PC to run it, so you can really enjoy the game in its current state. But yeah, I mean, I think what you say here is probably speaking more honestly to a story that I think's been a little underserved. And a lot of the flack CD Projekt's been getting over this game, I think, is super, super deserved, because they released an unfinished game. Like, you deserve to take some heat for that. Don't try to sell people a non-finished product and take their money for that. But I also feel what you're saying here. It is a little unfortunate, that it seems to be like, if you can sift through all the complaining, the bitching, and the moaning, and like the screen grabby, like clickbaity, like, oh, look at this glitch, and look how broken the game is here and there, and what a piece of trash. If you can somehow sift through all that and find like people just honestly talking about the game, the story, the gameplay, the world, and all that, it seems like it's a pretty phenomenal game, just covered in all this shit. So I mean, what that makes me feel mostly bad for like the passionate creatives at CD Projekt Red that knew this game needed more time, but they didn't have a say in whether or not it got more delays. So that just makes me feel bad for those people. I just put in so much passion and work behind making this game such a special product, only to be forcibly released into this market of like, game's not ready, looks and runs like shit, look how broken and buggy it is. So that's unfortunate, but I'm glad you're having a good time with it. Now let's kind of sunset into our last few comments here. This is where I put the longer comments, but no less important comments. Count Skyla writes in and says, I appreciated the Coke Freestyle pro tip. I've avoided those machines so hard. It never even occurred to me to just use water. Now, Count Skyla, of course, you're referring to when I said, switch it to water mode, run it for a few seconds to clean out the line, and then switch to the flavor you want so that you don't get the last person who used the machine's soda flavor stuck in your drink. Now, just to be clear, that helps, but it doesn't fix the problem. The Coke Freestyle machine is just inherently fucked from top to bottom. It was a horrible idea conceived by sadists, and I don't wish the Coke Freestyle machine on anyone. But if you have to use it, if you're in a situation where you're choking on a hot dog and you just need a refreshment, then yes, I guess this is how you should use the Coke Freestyle machine. But nonetheless, I appreciate you writing in about that. You go on to say, more importantly, I was really hoping the initiative would have chosen a brand new IP rather than Perfect Dark. However, as soon as journalists started saying that it's more like Mirror's Edge, like as far as movement goes, in a stealthy first-person shooter, the excitement had begun to creep in. I never played a Perfect Dark game before, so I think that's why my enthusiasm level was so low initially, but I actually think I can probably get behind this. Should I go ahead and play Cyberpunk now? I too am getting burned out by the regular by so many of these games that look nice but are just not my thing. I was really excited to get Cyberpunk 2077, but made myself wait until at least the reviews were out. Well, we all know how that went, and now I'm on the fence. Do I wait until next gen or just take my chances now? I mean, if you can wait, I would. If you're someone who's not like shitting your pants to play Cyberpunk, first of all, I would just say wait. I simply wait. Like if you can wait. You know. I don't think you're missing out on much. Like this game clearly should have been delayed. So I think we as consumers, especially those unlike myself who didn't pre-order the game, should try and exercise the patience and restraint that CD Projekt Red lacked, and just say, let me give this game 3 to 6 more months in the oven to become the game it should have been. You know, let me wait until it's the product that the developers really wanted to put out into the world, and then I'll play it. You know, like the game will still be there when you're ready, and it will be better than it is now, and it's not like there's like a dearth of amazing games to get to. So literally anything else, you could just play anything else. I think if you can, you know, if you have like me and my Halo Infinite levels of hype about Cyberpunk, then fuck it, just put up with the bugs and go for it now. Enjoy it. You know, who knows, maybe the bugs will add to the experience. But if you can restrain yourself, I think the answer for anyone who doesn't own the game, hell, for even people who own the game, I think the overwhelming answer is just wait. Unless you just know you're someone who's going to get more enjoyment out of a buggy, broken mess of a game because you're going to get a lot of laughs out of it, I think the answer is just to wait, because you're only benefiting your eventual experience with the game by being patient. Not that that's a revelation or anything. I just think, you know, I mean, I totally get you. There's so many open world games that like, oh, that looks promising, and then you play and you're like, this is kind of run of the mill. Really, the only open world, like generic open world, or should I say, like textbook open world game that really blew me away or got me in any way in particular was Red Dead Redemption 2 in recent years. So, if anything, if you haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2, just go ahead and play that. It's I can't imagine Cyberpunk's going to be better than Red Dead Redemption 2, but I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend. Back to your Perfect Dark comment, I agree with you. I've always been, anyone who's been listening to the show for a while now knows that when the rumors started coming in, you know, the rumors that the initiative were working on Perfect Dark are from like 6 to 10 months ago. So we've pretty much known this was coming for a long time. So I wasn't really surprised to learn that was real, because I kind of believed the rumors. But I'm with you there. I was a little disappointed. I'm like, the studio's being billed as a quadruple A studio. Like, why the fuck are they bringing back Perfect Dark? You know, a series that kind of has, you know, some fond memories, but mostly people don't really give a shit about it. People aren't clamoring for Perfect Dark to come back, you know, the way they were clamoring for, like, I don't know, what's something that people were dying to see come back that came back and made everyone super happy in their pants again? Like, I don't know, people weren't like clamoring for Perfect Dark the way they're currently clamoring for like Silent Hill to come back or something like that. It's not one of those things. So the fact that Perfect Dark is the franchise they chose to work on just makes no sense to me. But I'm kind of like you here, where I'm like, they said it was first person, so I was like, okay. And then they talked more about like a kind of dynamic or fluid kind of movement system or traversal system, which immediately made me really excited, especially knowing how much Insomniac talent works at the initiative. So I'm kind of with you there, where I'm like, I'm pretty optimistic about Perfect Dark now. I don't know if I'm anticipating to see like something so groundbreaking and quote unquote quadruple A, like Phil Spencer was saying back in 2018, but I am fairly excited and interested to see what this game looks like whenever we, you know, finally see gameplay and get a further understanding of what it is. But I think we're a ways out. So I think the best thing to do with Perfect Dark right now is to just kind of try and forget about it. because this is a perfect example of a game that's being shown too early because they want to brag about this studio, and so the game's kind of suffering by being like prematurely marketed as a means of saying, one, Series X has a lot of great shit coming on on the horizon, so hold on tight, and two, because they want to show off this really awesome studio they just spent a lot of money forming. So I think that's the only reason why we see Perfect Dark now. But let's just try and forget about this game, and then when they're ready to show it, then we can talk. I think then we can have a more constructive conversation about what it looks like, whether or not it was a good choice to go to this. It's so early in development, and the details are so scarce and vague that it really is hard to have like a serious conversation about what we're getting and if it's the right move or not. I just think we have to see a gameplay demo of whatever this game ends up being before we can really further that conversation. But I agree with you. It's kind of a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions, the whole story of this being the game that they're working on. But I'm trying to remain optimistic and also just not think about it too much until we know more. All right, Jay comes back and says, I've already played about 15 hours of Cyberpunk. It runs beautifully on the Xbox Series X. The only glitch I've encountered is half a second of clipping issues. That's not bad at all. The game itself, bear in mind I've always been a Cyberpunk fan, so this setting really is my wheelhouse. It's great. The combat works well, you can tackle all the missions through a variety of techniques, and the world itself comes alive the more you delve into it. I barely touched the main storyline, focusing a lot on side quests. Customization of your character is varied enough to make your character feel unique. It's not the game to change the world, but neither was The Witcher. What they do have in common is the rich and detailed worlds, coupled with solid stories. I'm just referring to the side missions here, of course, and great writing. That's what I liked about The Witcher, and it's what I like about Cyberpunk. Gameplay is nothing new, but it's strong and effective. Sorry that went on way too long. No, don't apologize at all. That's actually a great comment. It's a nice detailed comment. I think it gives a lot of people listening a nice taste of what to expect, and it helps. I think, even though this is obviously your subjective opinion, I think this helps really frame a little more about what Cyberpunk actually is or actually will be once we can get past this conversation of refunds and bugginess and broken game. I think this is a much better snapshot of just like what this game is going to be at some point when we can finally talk about it for what it is and not what it launched as. So I do appreciate that feedback, and it's kind of fun you say this because in a way this almost disappoints me because it kind of affirms everything I always worried about Cyberpunk, which is that the thing that carries this game is the setting, the art style, the aesthetic, the detailed world, the characters, which is all great. I'm excited about, but it's not revolutionary or next gen or groundbreaking in terms of its, gameplay mechanics and just I don't know. There's nothing about it that's like you've never seen a game like this before. It might be one of the most detailed or best versions of a specific genre, but it's not paving the way for a whole new era of gaming. Or that's at least how I kind of read what you're saying is, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but that's kind of my worry. It seems like this is all really good news if you're someone who's already a fan of this kind of stuff. But to me, I just so worry that I'm going to really get into Cyberpunk at some point, and I'm going to enjoy the first few hours of it, and then at some point realize that I don't give a shit about all the detailed, nerdy, more RPG, open world shit, and that I just want cutscenes and gunplay, and then I'm going to get bored and never finish it. So I do appreciate this comment, but man, I hope just somehow, my tiny brain finally plays Cyberpunk and is for some reason just thinks that this game is something I've never experienced before. So I'm sure in a lot of ways it is completely new, but it seems like it is in other ways, just it's still an open world action Western role playing game. Like it's still, if you're someone who doesn't like Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Witcher, this game probably isn't gonna suddenly turn you into a massive fan of this genre, but here's hoping. Lethal Migraine helps round out the comments. It says, I don't ever build in Fortnite, but I do quite well when I play. A lot of top 3 finishers, some wins. Don't need to build to have a good time, thankfully. Well, Lethal Migraine, in the twist of the century, I would have never guessed that you play Fortnite, but thank you for letting us know that you are a sweaty 8-year-old child who will kick my ass in Fortnite. But all joking aside, yeah, you're kind of right. I think I overplayed how essential the building mechanic is, but at the same time, I feel like you can't really appreciate what the game's supposed to be or how you're supposed to play it unless you can effectively build. But Lethal Migraine, you finish up with saying, my issue with the Perfect Dark game, by the way, is I want a game that combines Deus Ex with Splinter Cell. And instead, it looks like the initiative is combining stealth with Mirror's Edge, and that's not what I want. I'm also disappointed that's first person instead of third person. Xbox has plenty of first person games. Lethal Migraine, again, in our never ending quest to always disagree on everything, this is exactly why I'm optimistic about Perfect Dark, is because I want stealth and Mirror's Edge in first person over Splinter Cell in Deus Ex in third person. So this is exactly what makes me excited for the game. So I think it's just so funny that once again we're on opposing sides of this conversation. And I think you raise a great point. You are correct. Like, Xbox has a ton of first person games. They have Bethesda now, which makes like exclusively first person games between all their studios. They have Obsidian, which makes first person games. They have the 343, which makes first person games. They have, just so many like Rare even makes a first person game now. That's what Sea of Thieves is. So like, regardless of the specific genre, it's like, it seems like most Xbox exclusives play in the first person perspective. But that's actually one of the things I love about Xbox so much, is because, well, first of all, they have the controller for it. The Xbox controller was designed to be like a first person, like, lover's gamepad, because the off-axis analog sticks are so perfect for first-person games. Plus, Xbox has the superior triggers. Keeping in mind that I have never held a DualSense controller before, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is something I love about Xbox. I'm generally just a more first-person attracted person, so I prefer that. That's not weird, but I prefer that to third-person games generally. So that actually excites me quite a bit. But you are right that Xbox definitely leans a little heavier first-person, but I think that's much in the same way Sony leans a little too heavy into third person. Think about it like this. Like, Sony has like Killzone, and they had Resistance Fall of Man. Those were like their only first person games, and those were both first person shooters. And both of those franchises are kind of dead now. So it's funny when you think about it. It's like on Xbox, it's like, yeah, they have some third person games. Like, I mean, Bleeding Edge came out recently. That's third person. Fable is first person. The new one will likely be third person as well, stuff like that. But I mean, Gears of War obviously is third person. It's over the shoulder third person, which is kind of a different perspective, but it's a third person game nonetheless. So I mean, Xbox has some third person games in the same way, but I think that's kind of one of the things that differentiates them, is they lean a little further into their first person content, because that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a trope of Xbox, if you will. But I don't know. I like that about Xbox. And then our final comment of the week comes from Ryan Weil, who says, "Hey man, great show as always. And a while back I commented about how I was playing Halo for the first time. I'm back now after playing Halo 4 and 5. Without a doubt, Halo is the best series I've ever played." Well, Ryan, you've just officially won my heart. You say, "I thought 4 was a masterpiece, and I actually really enjoyed 5. Seeing what they did with Cortana blew my mind. I did think that there was too much of Osiris and Locke, but oh well. After playing them all, I think it's a toss-up between Combat Evolved and 3 for the best game in the series, although I really do enjoy ODST. Now that I'm through the campaigns, I want to dive into multiplayer. What is your recommendation? Halo 5 or Master Chief Collection? It's all new to me, but I'm in total love with the franchise. Cannot wait for Infinite." Well, Ryan, if I weren't in a committed relationship right now with my girlfriend, I would probably just get down on my knees and ask you to marry me, because you said all the things that make me a happy daddy. But all joking aside, I'm really happy to see that you enjoyed the Halo series. And I'm surprised to see you enjoyed 4 and 5, as it seems like it's kind of like expected that everyone has to hate on them. But no, I mean, that just means more enjoyment for you. Okay, so a lot of things here. You say, should I play jumping into multiplayer, go with Halo 5 or Master Chief Collection? Sir, this is the conundrum of all time. Aside from the conundrum of the double cheeseburger versus the quarter pounder, I think this is probably the second conundrum, is do I play Halo 5 or Master Chief Collection? So I think the answer is all of them, first of all, because when you're playing Master Chief Collection, you really jump between, Halos 1 through 4 plus Reach. So like, it's like saying like, do I play Halo 5 or do I play Master Chief Collection? It's like saying, do I play every Halo but 5, or do I play 5 and nothing else? So I think the answer is all of them, because eventually Halo 5, I think, will end up in Master Chief Collection. But it certainly belongs in there, because Master Chief Collection is a celebration of all the Halo games. So I think you should start with Master Chief Collection, because I mean, I think a lot of OG Halo fans are going to say, Halo 2, whatever. My personal take is that Halo 3's multiplayer is phenomenal. Like, I just have the most nostalgic and brightest memories of my life playing Halo 3 online multiplayer, so I highly recommend Halo 3. But that being said, I also think Halo Reach has really solid multiplayer. And I think Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer on Master Chief Collection is really special. So it's got to be Master Chief Collection just because you get such a wide variety of what Halo's had to offer from multiplayer. But if that's a little overwhelming, then maybe start with Halo 5 because this is where it gets really weird. Technically, I think personally, in my opinion, Halo 5 multiplayer is the best Halo multiplayer ever because, in my opinion, they got it all right. They modernized Halo, they brought into the future with a bunch of new ideas while also keeping intact the spirit and the things that make Halo multiplayer what it is. So if you love Halo 3 multiplayer like I do, I feel like Halo 5 multiplayer is like it keeps that spirit intact while also making it modern by adding ground pound and adding clamber and adding Spartan, adding the Spartan thrusters and adding dashing or running and aim down sights. And so here's the thing, is like I love every Halo multiplayer. I even really love Halo 4 multiplayer, which is I think widely considered the weakest multiplayer. But I will say this, even though I love to play Halo 4 multiplayer and I still play it a lot, Halo 4's multiplayer, I will agree that like critically, it definitely loses a lot of what makes Halo multiplayer specifically Halo or uniquely Halo, even though I still love to play and I have a lot of fun with it. I think that's a very fair criticism of Halo 4 multiplayer. Halo 5 multiplayer is different because it takes all the advancements and the modernisms of Halo 4 multiplayer, but also blends it so well and evolves it so tastefully from Halos like 2 and 3. So I really think Halo 5 is the ultimate multiplayer experience. It's fully fleshed out, it's fully detailed. It feels like Halo. It is Halo top to bottom. The maps are great. The guns feel amazing. The balancing is really great. I love Halo 5 multiplayer. So I say maybe start with dabbling in Master Chief Collection, but ideally all. Maybe play a little of all of them and see which one fits your playstyle the best. Like, I still love Halo Reach multiplayer. When Halo Reach was new, oh my god, I put so many fucking hours into Halo Reach multiplayer. So I would recommend go through Master Chief Collection, play a little bit of all the multiplayer, see which one speaks to you. Try Halo 5's multiplayer. If you have access to all the games, try them all. What do you have to lose? See which one speaks to you and which one works best for you. But I'm really glad to see you're enjoying Halo. I really envy your position of being new to this franchise and being able to experience all these things for the first time. I know it's really exciting because Halo is such a great franchise, and I really hope, I don't know, I'm really happy for you that you're enjoying all that. So now you are alongside the rest of us and just anxiously waiting for Infinite. But that's going to do it for all of our comments, shout outs, whatever questions from this week's show. Guys, thank you as always for writing in. I appreciate it very much. Like I said, this is a slow news week, so I'm kind of dragging my feet here and taking my time, just enjoying the comments. Remember, for next week's episode, first of all, write in with your favorite game of 2020 or favorite gaming moments of 2020 or whatever it is. I want to do that segment next week. You can do it like a game award thing. You can do a top 5 and top 3 games of the year, however you want to do that. Remember to write in with that because that'll be a fun segment for next week. But until next time, don't be shy. Reply. All right, next we're going to get into what I've been playing. But before I can tell you what I've been playing, guys, I got to tell you about what I've been eating. So actually this week, admittedly, I don't have anything to really go over for the what I've been eating at section. I mean, the closest thing to like interesting I can say is that there's this new pizza spot that opened up like literally like a quarter mile from my apartment. I could literally leave my apartment, walk down the street, go to this restaurant, like I don't even have to get my car to order pizza from here. So that's a really nice perk and feature of this place's location. But yeah, I finally decided to give it a try after having a recommendation from a coworker / neighbor of mine who said this place is the shit. So I went there, and much like he warned me, this place is incredibly overpriced for pizza. I got a single pizza and it was like $21 before tip and tax. But I will admit, it was a very delicious pizza. It had a little of everything. It had peppers, onions, sausage, pepperoni, and mushrooms. So it was a fully loaded pizza. It was very good. It wasn't too greasy and disgusting, but very overpriced. My favorite thing about the pizza was just being able to walk outside my apartment, take a nice stroll in this fall weather we're having here in Florida, and go to this place, pick up a pizza, and walk back to my apartment, rather than having to, do the typical thing you have to do everywhere around here, which is just drive and wait at traffic lights and wait in traffic in general and just be pissed and drive and drive and drive. So that was really the only nice thing about that. But that's not really speaking to the food. That's more speaking to the convenience. But the real thing I want to talk about with food this week, guys, is you know me. If you know I'm a TGI guy. I'm a thank God it's Fridays kind of guy. I love TGI Fridays. It's my thing. It's part of my identity. I've been trying frantically, and I'm not even. I know I'm usually pretty sarcastic, but like this is dead serious. I've been trying to find TGI Fridays merchandise to wear. I would love a goddamn TGI Fridays T-shirt to sport when I'm out and about in the theme parks, but goddamn it, they don't exist. But I'm a big TGI Fridays fan, and this past week I learned that TGI Fridays has released a new app. And this is important because literally none of you might remember, but months ago on the podcast, I was talking about how I recently had Chili's and how Chili's is actually a lot better than I remember it being. I remember being like a TGI way over Chili's kind of guy. But I was talking about how Chili's is actually pretty solid and how lately I've been feeling Chili's a little more than TGI Fridays because Chili's has such a modern and robust app. You can get in the app, select your location, order from the app, redeem any points or rewards you have on your account within the app, tip, pay, everything on the app, and then just go pick it up. You know, park outside the restaurant, say I'm here, and then they bring it out to your car. I love that about Chili's. It's just so convenient and modern and intuitive. And the thing I hated about TGI Fridays is their app. It seems like one of those apps, like everyone knows an app or two like this. You know, it's one of those apps where like you go to the Google Play or the Apple App Store and you download this app and you launch it and you go, wow, I can't wait to try the TGI Fridays app. This is going to add so much convenience and ease of use to my life. And then the app loads up, it boots up, and you realize, oh, fuck, the aspect ratio is off. Why does the text look, holy shit, and you realize you've come across one of those apps that was developed in like 2009 and then never updated again ever fucking ever. So you're like using a phone from the year 2020 and you're like, oh my God, I can't enjoy this stupid fucking app because it doesn't do anything and it's just all for show and it's useless. And that was the TGI Fridays app. You try to log in, it would just constantly log you out. You try to check your rewards and you could look at them, but you couldn't redeem them. You try to look for a location, it lets you, it says, oh, order now, and then you try to order, but it's just like, call the store. And it's like, what the none of this is convenient. Like, you can't use it. It's not usable. But all those worries, all those concerns can now melt away because the new TGI Fridays app is here, and it is excellent, guys. Let me tell you about it. You log in once, you stay logged in forever. It's beautiful. Every time, here, I'll do it right now just to prove it to you. Here, I'm pulling out my phone. Yeah, you go to the app. You load that shit up, it loads fast immediately, like I'm signed in, I see my rewards points, I can earn points, I can redeem points, I can order, I can pay in here, I can have it, all the conveniences, it's all here. It's so modern, the aspect ratio is beautiful, the layout fits my phone, everything's awesome, it's modern, we're doing it, everything's great, God is good, and I just couldn't be more happy about it. Now I haven't ordered TGI in a while, I'm planning on doing it in the near future, but I'm just super happy to say the new TGI Fridays app is out. Please go ahead and download it, guys. Of course, it's free to sign up. Highly recommend you do it. It's this is the kind of stuff that's bringing us into the future. You know, they say electric cars, dual screen phones, private companies flying to Mars, like all these things happening. Like we're here. We're getting into the future. But I'd say the new TGI Fridays app is like right up there in that conversation. So, but that's that's what I've been eating. And then as for what I've been playing, guys, I may have given it away already earlier in the show, but yeah, I've been really delving into the Black Ops series. I don't know, I feel like there's a lot I missed here with Call of Duty, and I know I've talked about this briefly, I won't get into it too much this week, but like, I really enjoyed the hell out of Black Ops Cold War, and like, I just haven't been able to put it down. Like, the new update came out recently, I love it. The new maps are phenomenal. That they brought back Raid from Black Ops 2. The new shopping mall, the 80s shopping mall map is like, I think one of the best Call of Duty maps ever made. Like, it's just fucking amazing. I love this map. And I've just been really going back and enjoying the hell out of the Black Ops games. I've been watching, you know, the Act Man on YouTube and all of his Call of Duty videos, really enjoying the hell out of those. And I'm really relating with him because it seems like he had a similar trajectory with the Call of Duty franchise where, you know, he was young and grew up on the Modern Warfare and World at War and Black Ops 1 kind of era of Call of Duty, and then kind of fell off around the time Black Ops 2 and Ghosts was coming out and just kind of is only now really getting back into the series. And I really relate to him and am enjoying his videos because it's just such a parallel experience to what I'm going through. And man, it's just been so much fun. Kind of like this past week, I finished replaying the campaign on Black Ops 2, and now the other night I restarted playing Black Ops 1. So I'm working through the campaign on that right now. I just ordered Black Ops 3 in the mail, so I found it for dirt cheap on eBay. So I'm gonna go through and play through Black Ops 3 for the first time, but I'm really digging this series. I know like Call of Duty is that thing, especially in the like for real gamers, where it's like you gotta hate on Call of Duty. It's so lame. It's for casuals. It's this annualized garbage. But it's like I don't know, man. Especially if you go back to the earlier days of COD, like those were not cash grab games. Those were not just annualized, churned out like butter. That was like there was real heart and soul poured into those like early Modern Warfare, early Black Ops, World at War kind of Call of Duty games. And I think it's just so palpable. Like I always wrote off Black Ops 2 because it kind of came out at a time where I was really falling out of love with gaming for a little while. But now that I've gone back and replayed really all the content, I gotta say, the only thing I stand by that I always said about Black Ops 2 is yes, transit, the zombies that come on the game. That zombies map sucks. The zombies in Black Ops 2 are fucking awful. Fuck transit. But like I really gotta like walk back some things I've said about Black Ops 2 in the past. Like Black Ops 2 multiplayer is phenomenal, and Black Ops 2's multiplayer or campaign is really good. Like, let's be perfectly clear, it's not as good as Black Ops 1's campaign by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a pretty good campaign. The level design's phenomenal. The player choice is somehow pretty cool. And the story beats, for the most part, like the general outline's pretty good. It has like a lot of campy exposition bullshit in the beginning of the game, and it has like some not so cool stuff, especially towards the end with like the protecting the president and all that shit. Some like the more futuristic shit of Black Ops 2, I think, is a little campy and lame. But overall, in general, Black Ops 2 is actually a pretty damn good game, like through and through, multiplayer and campaign wise. And I'm really glad I went back to that game in particular because I have a really new, like, I have a newfound respect and appreciation for that game. And I just really been enjoying going through the Black Ops franchise. Now, I've done enough research on the series and I know enough about them to understand that's like the way the Black Ops universe basically works. It's like you got Black Ops 1, or technically you got World at War, which is like a prequel to Black Ops. Then you got Black Ops 1, and then you got Black Ops 2. And then you basically just forget about 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are just complete bullshit nonsense. And then you get Black Ops Cold War, the new one. That one counts. I think the new one has a fantastic campaign. But yeah, it's like Black Ops 3 and 4 are just... It's like this whole thing where it's that dark era of COD where it was just like a new one was just coming out every year. No one gave a shit. It's just for the Call of Duty audience and no one else. But... You know, I'm just now jumping into those games, so we'll see what they're really like once I play them. But it really does seem like, you know, Infinity or Treyarch was just like, what do we do next? And Activision was just like, well, Black Ops makes too much goddamn money for you not to make a new Black Ops game. So they just started making new games in the Call of Duty franchise that weren't Black Ops, but just were called Black Ops anyway, which is basically what Black Ops 3 and 4 are. And I know they have like some mild nods that don't actually really add anything to the universe, but technically tie them together if you want to try and connect Black Ops 3 and 4 to the older Black Ops games. But they're not really, you know, in the franchise, to be honest. Like it's kind of bullshit. So I don't know. I'm excited to finally play Black Ops 3 in particular because that one has a proper campaign and to kind of see like what it is that I missed out on from those years where I just wasn't buying Call of Duty. But honestly, this little resurgence I'm having has me pretty excited. I think the thing I like about Treyarch's games is I like the Black Ops setting, and I love the more arcadey feel to their Call of Duties. Like I feel like the Infinity Ward Modern Warfare games are a little more realistic from a gameplay perspective and balancing perspective, whereas the Black Ops games tend to be a little more like goofy and arcadey, and that's just more my play style. But I don't know. I've just really been enjoying kind of just admiring and appreciating and falling in love with this series that, you know, the sub-series of Call of Duty that I haven't really thought about or cared about too much in like 8 or 10 years. So that's just been fun. Aside from that, my brother got me access to the Back 4 Blood alpha. And as some of you may know, the computer I have is a Surface Pro. It's a Microsoft Surface Pro. And while I love the fuck out of my Surface Pro, I got to be honest, like, obviously this is not a gaming machine, and I never bought this with the intention of gaming, but sometimes I'm really fucking surprised what I can get to run on my Surface Pro. And my brother was like, just download the alpha, we'll try to make it run. I'm like, brother, I don't think you have any fucking clue how impossible it's going to be to run Back 4 Blood on a goddamn Microsoft Surface tablet. And lo and behold, I freed up the storage on my computer. I went to Steam and I downloaded it, and wouldn't you know, the fucking game runs on a Surface Pro. Like, what the fuck? I mean, obviously, I had to knock the resolution and the graphic settings and everything down to like bare minimum specs. but I was surprised to see that the game actually fucking ran. Now, it was a little choppy. I would drop frames a little bit. I was probably getting like 20 to 25 frames a second. It wasn't great, you know? I wouldn't play it extensively like that, but for someone who's just trying to get a feel for the game and get a taste of it, I could not believe my fucking Surface Pro was handling that thing like a champ. Maybe that speaks more to Turtle Rock, the developer Turtle Rock Studios, like optimization of the game, but fuck, my little Surface Pro handled it like a champ. But more focused on the game itself, Back 4 Blood is exactly what I hoped it would be, in the sense that it is just Left 4 Dead 3. It's Left 4 Dead 3 with a different title. There are a couple little things I don't like about the game. Like, it has this stupid card system that I have no interest in learning or paying attention to, but it's there and it annoys the fuck out of me, but it doesn't really have too much effect on the game, to be honest. And then the second thing is, I don't like that the game tries to stray away from like just pure typical zombies and tries to make it a little more like some weird kind of like monster thing. I don't know. It's like some form of zombies. They don't even call them zombies, and I don't like that. I wish they just did just generic classic horror zombies and nothing fancy, no twists. You know, just zombies. But that's a really minor gripe that doesn't actually make any difference in the grand scheme of things. So, as far as what actually matters, the gameplay, the feel, the addictiveness, the loop, it's Left 4 Dead. It's a modern next-gen version of Left 4 Dead, and I couldn't be more pleased with it. So, I just wanted to play enough to get a feel for it, just to be sure that Left 4 Dead was coming back. And, yeah, I mean, if you were someone who has any hesitation or concern about what Back 4 Blood is, it is purely Left 4 Dead 3. It is exactly what we've been asking for forever. It is Left 4 Dead 3, and it's very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that game when it comes out next summer, and I can play it on my Xbox. And then lastly, I jumped into Gears 5 Hivebusters, the new expansion that came out for Gears 5. I won't speak much to this. I literally only played like the first mission and a half. But I gotta be honest, if you're looking for the Xbox Series X like tech demo, or like the thing to sell the Xbox Series X, look no further than Gears 5 Hivebusters. I actually think they should have released this as a separate download. They should not have released this as Gears 5, like go into Gears 5 and launch it to get this. They should have released it as a separate thing, especially because most people are just going to play through Game Pass anyway, because this really is like the Spider-Man Miles Morales to Gears 5. You know, it's like, this could have been, Xbox could have, I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why they didn't just spin this off as a separate download, like Halo ODST or Spider-Man Miles Morales or something like that, because they could have packaged this and sold it as like a $30, $40 game and been like, hey, here is your little like small Xbox Series X exclusive to get you going, kind of like what PlayStation had with Spider-Man. So I think it's a completely missed opportunity, because graphically and performance wise, this is the thing to show off the Xbox Series X. It looks phenomenal. The game looks stunning. So good. And gameplay wise, it's just more really fun Gears of War. It's a whole new cast of characters. I'm trying to get used to them right now. They're kind of cool. They're kind of generic, but I'm enjoying it well enough. It's kind of too early to really tell, but it's more Gears. It's more great Gears gameplay. But like the thing that I've been most impressed with is just, God, the settings and the visual style of this expansion, the side DLC, this second campaign are so good. Like it's just such a beautiful game. So many moments just playing the first level alone where I had to stop and be like, God damn, this is a beautiful game. Like, I kept pissing off my girlfriend because I kept just saying like, oh my god, look at it, isn't it so beautiful? And she's like, shut up, I know, whatever. And yeah, it was awesome. Like this is a must play if you're even remotely a Gears fan, or if you just want an excuse to see what your Series X can do. Play Gears 5 Hivebusters. It's beautiful and it's fun. So I'll get back to that soon. I'm having a hard time like really getting into it because I'm just really enjoying my weird Black Ops kick right now. But once that dies down, I'm really excited to get back into this and fully enjoy and give it my undivided attention. But that's what I've been playing, guys. We're like 20 hours into the show now. Let's get into our very short news week. All right, our first story here comes from Windows Central. And keep in mind, nothing this week is like particularly big news, but nonetheless. Halo developer 343 Industries have announced in a blog post that the vast majority of online services for Xbox 360 Halo games are being sunset permanently in December of 2021, roughly 1 year from now. This primarily includes multiplayer services like matchmaking and online servers. Custom games will still work, but some other features such as file share and player customization may be disabled as well. It's important to note that this will affect every Xbox 360 copy of these games, including the ones being played through Xbox One backwards compatibility. The specific features that are being sunset vary game to game, but thankfully 343 Industries have created a handy chart that makes it perfectly clear which games will and won't be affected in which aspects. And I have a picture of it here just so I can reference as I talk about this. But I saw this kind of making the news rounds a lot this week, and I think that's maybe only because my social media feed has so many Halo-centric gamers in it nowadays for whatever reason. I don't even know how I got to that point, but there's just so many Halo-focused people on my Twitter timeline now that I just see a lot of this, but it seemed like, at least, I don't think gamers, I think just the Halo community was a little outraged or up in arms by this, and I can't for the life of me understand why the fuck anyone was upset about this. Like, I share, like, if you're someone who sees this and you're like, oh man, end of an era, that's a little sad, like, I share that sentiment, that's totally understandable, but for people to be upset about this is, like, such a head-scratching what the fuck moment. It's like, guys, you still be able to pop in your Halo 3 or your Halo 4 disc into your Xbox Series X and play the campaign via backwards compatibility. But all they're saying is, a year from now, they're going to start shutting off the multiplayer. So you can't, the servers are down. You can't matchmake on Halo 4 from playing a Halo 4 disc from the 360. Like, guys, this is the whole point of the Master Chief Collection. This is literally why the Master Chief Collection exists, is because Halo is one of those things. It's one of those rare games. It's like Counter-Strike. It's like Unreal Tournament. It's like I don't know, like World of Warcraft. It's like one of those things where it's like, it is a game, it is a platform, it is an experience, a multiplayer experience that is just here to stay forever. It will never shut down, it will never fully go away. That's literally the purpose of the Master Chief Collection, is getting all of those experiences in one place so you can have a hub to enjoy your Halo. That's why I always say, I think one day you'll see Halo 5 come to Master Chief Collection. It's just going to be in a world where Halo Infinite has released and we're used to it, and Halo 5 is far from the most current Halo game in the series. I'm saying that's when that'll happen, but that's literally the purpose of the Master Chief Collection, is because inevitably you have to do this. Why the fuck would you have online servers running forever, for Halo 3, which came out in 2007 on 360, when everyone else, has moved on from the 360 and can just play Halo 3 multiplayer on the Master Chief Collection? Like, it just makes no sense. And again, I understand it's like end of an era. Like, there's a part of me that definitely, like, next year, next fall, around the time this shuts down, I definitely want to take some time to, like, sit down and put the Halo 3 disc in my Xbox for old time's sake, and just, like, dig through the menus and play a match-made game of Halo 3 the old way, not through the Master Chief Collection, not through the new menus, not through the new features, not through any of that, just the old classic way of putting the Halo 3 disc in your Xbox, booting it up, getting that start screen, those menus, matchmaking through that specific title, and just kind of being transported back to 2007. I get that, but like this had to happen eventually. You can't just keep up and maintain servers forever for these old games that no one's playing. Like, who the fuck is like, oh, I want to play Halo 4 multiplayer, but I don't feel like playing Master Chief Collection on my Xbox Series X. I actually feel like playing Halo 4 on my Xbox 360. It's like, no one's doing that. So this makes sense that this is happening. It's just one of those sad things that just kind of signifies the end of an era. And it's mostly stuff like, on Halo Reach and Halo 4 and Halo 3, you'll still be able to do custom games and Forge and split screen and all that shit. It's just like, you just won't be able to do, matchmaking and file sharing and stuff like that. So again, it sucks, it's sad, but like, it's totally understandable. Actually, oddly enough, it says that Halo Spartan Assault and Halo Wars will still have online features as well. You'll still be able to play Halo Wars 1 online. So, I mean, what that tells you is that they're just shutting down online service and support for the games that are duplicates, for the games that you can already play via the Master Chief Collection. So that's literally all that tells you. The fact that you can still play Halo Spartan Assault online, but not Halo 3, just means that they're just saying, yeah, play Master Chief Collection. So I don't know. It's not that big a thing. I mean, the only thing I'll really say this is if you're an achievement whore and you don't have all the online multiplayer achievements for Halo Reach, Halo 4, and Halo 3, now's the time to get online, get some friends together, go on Halo Waypoint, find a community of gamers that will help you out with this, and go get those online achievements before this happens, because once these things are shut off, those achievements are going to be lost into time and space forever. So that is one thing I will say you might want to go ahead and get your hands on before it's too late. But other than that, just play these games through Master Chief Collection. Still a little sad, though. I get it. Okay, that's our first story of the week. Our second story here, again, coming from Windows Central, we've got Cyberpunk 2077 continues to be the subject of much critical and commercial scrutiny, but in spite of the poor reception the game to the game's base console versions, the sales still appear to be strong. CD Projekt Red parent company CD Projekt shared in an investor's report confirming that Cyberpunk 2077 has sold over 13 million copies so far, which is stupid. This report, which is based on, quote, reports obtained from digital distribution platforms and data collected through physical retail distributors, is noted to account for any refunds requested so far, though the exact number of copies that have been refunded remains unknown, meaning that the 13 million copies sold include or do not include the ones that were refunded. These are just the 13 million copies that were sold and kept, which is insane. Additionally, despite Sony recently making the announcement to indefinitely remove Cyberpunk from PlayStation's digital storefront, Xbox have announced that they are extending their refund policy for Cyberpunk 2077, although that's about as far as they're willing to go, as they don't seem to have any plans for removing the game from the Xbox store. Xbox was already being generous with their refunds, reportedly approved nearly all of the refund requests for Cyberpunk, but now they are extending the typical refund time frame until further notice. Now, anyone who purchased Cyberpunk should be able to request and be approved for a refund. However, Cyberpunk will remain for purchase in the Microsoft Store, and there are no talks currently to remove Cyberpunk, according to CD Projekt Red. It is also important to note that CD Projekt have also begun to offer returns for physical copies of the games rather than having customers return them directly to big box retailers like Target and Best Buy. I'm kind of tired of talking about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk, but whatever. It's a slow news week, and this is literally like what the world of gaming has to offer this whole month, seemingly. So we'll keep at it. First of all, 13 million copies is fucking amazing, and what that tells you is that I think that's the perfect. This is the perfect example of what they mean when people say there's no such thing as bad press or all press is good press, because people are talking about Cyberpunk left and right, regardless of whether or not it's all positive news. It's getting people to look at this game, and I think a lot of people are looking at it and just going, "Wow, game looks really fucking cool," and they're buying it. So other than that, I think it also speaks to the strong pre-order numbers. I think someone said that the game sold over 8 million copies or something, simply from pre-order numbers alone. So that doesn't really surprise me that's a pretty mind-blowing number, keeping in mind that, I don't know, if someone announces that their game's already sold 1 million copies after its first week, that's generally considered a massive success. So, keep in mind 13 million is fucking out of this world. That's game of the generation, first party content, sales numbers right there. So really, really impressive stuff coming out the gate from CD Projekt, and Cyberpunk is most likely going to be one of those Skyrim type Witcher games where it has that sales longevity. It's not going to be one of those games where it's they sold all their copies in the first 2 weeks and then moved on. It's this is probably a game that's going to be on NPD numbers for quite a while. So really, really impressive stuff, and they're off to a phenomenal start. So you can say what you want about how they fucked up and how it's over for CD Projekt Red, but with sales numbers like this, it's pretty clear to see that Cyberpunk's going to be a fucking hit, whether you like it or not. So, and then as for the refunds thing, this is the story that broke after last week's show went up, shortly after last week's show went up. The fact that Sony removed the game from the PlayStation Store is incredibly unprecedented and entirely surprising. So that was just a crazy story right there. But to see Microsoft say, we're not going to remove the game, we'll offer refunds, we'll be really lenient about that, but we're keeping the game on our storefront. This is going to sound a little fanboy, but I actually really respect that decision from Microsoft, because what Microsoft's done is when you go to the games store page on the Microsoft Store, it just says, older platforms may experience some performance issues, blah, blah, blah. There's a little disclaimer on it. And I actually really respect that because it's basically their way of saying like, hey, the game is out. It's out there. The developer's selling it. It's out to the public. It's not in the best shape. And here's a little disclaimer explaining that and maybe warning you if you're playing a base Xbox One. But like, we're not going to tell you you can't buy this game that's out and available just because we're trying to protect our own image or our own customers. It's like, the reality is like, the decision's yours. Like, if you're even a remotely informed purchaser, you know there's shit going down with Cyberpunk. It's all anyone's talking about. So it's not terribly likely that people are just, oh, Cyberpunk, what's this? I haven't heard a single fucking thing about this Cyberpunk game. Oh, let's click on this. Wow, this looks really interesting. Wow, I think I'm going to spend $60 and download this game right now. And, 5 hours later, holy shit, this game's broken. It's a buggy mess. How dare they mislead me like this? It's like, that's not going to happen. Like, anyone who's buying Cyberpunk knows what's going on right now. And if not, there's at least a disclaimer there. I like the idea of like letting the consumer decide for themselves, like, hey, I either want this or I don't. Like, let the purchaser make that decision. We don't need Sony removing it. To me, that's more like Sony trying to protect their own skin by like hiring the perceived value and quality of the PlayStation brand by being like, oh, when I go to the store on PlayStation, I know I can only get quality games. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like, just it's a game. It's for sale. The developers put it out there. Let people buy it if they want to buy it, That being said, there's also, again, remember Microsoft had a massive marketing commitment with CD Projekt Red for this game. All the marketing for Cyberpunk, leading up to launch was associated with the Xbox brands, as a lot of, happens with a lot of big games where the marketing kind of goes to Sony or Microsoft and you see it associated more with one platform. So I wonder if, there's a lot of situations where Microsoft wants to say something or wants to do something or would have taken a specific stance if it weren't for the fact that they're kind of financially and contractually obligated to promote and stand behind this game due to the marketing agreement. And I wonder if they regret that now, because no doubt Microsoft spent a lot of money kind of aligning with Cyberpunk. It was a big get. Remember, like, Keanu Reeves came out on Microsoft's stage at E3 to talk about Cyberpunk, and all the ads talk about this game on Xbox and show the Xbox logo, and that's a big get for Xbox. It's kind of like, how Destiny was associated with PlayStation 4 and all that. So this is a big get for Microsoft. It's just too unfortunate that, of course, this had to be the scenario surrounding it. Sometimes it feels like Xbox just gets like, of course that would be Xbox. PlayStation would swipe Call of Duty from Xbox and get the Destiny marketing and all that shit, and then Microsoft would be like, we finally got a big one. We got that new Cyberpunk game, and it's like, fuck you. It runs like shit. It's broken. But anyway, I'm really tired of talking about Cyberpunk, so I'll kind of leave it at that. But if you guys have anything else to add to that, feel free to comment. I'm personally really burned out on this game. I haven't even played yet, just from all the conversation surrounding it. Yeah, our final big story of the week, I told you, it's a small news week, short news week, but our final news week story of the week, and this is one I really included in the notes specifically for me because this is relevant to something I care about, but it is technically relevant to Xbox, although I'm sure most of you won't give a shit or even know who this is about. But let's get into it so we can learn. So from gamesindustry.biz, game services provider Keyword Studios has added yet another company to its roster of studios with the acquisition of High Voltage Software for a total consideration of up to $50 million. The terms of the acquisition will see Keyword Studios pay an initial consideration of $23.75 million in cash and the equivalent of $9.75 million in ordinary shares, plus a deferred consideration of up to $16.5 million if performance targets are met by December 31st, 2021. American games developer service company High Voltage Software was created in 1993 and has contributed to games such as Fortnite and Mortal Kombat, and developed its own titles such as Hunter the Reckoning or Lego Racers, and was probably most recently known in terms of their own IP for the Nintendo Wii's popular franchise, The Conduit. It shipped over 100 games across all platforms in its time as a studio. High Voltage Software's founder and majority shareholder, Kerry Ganofsky, will remain in his role as CEO, and the studio is expected to generate $9 million in earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation in 2021, and will provide Keywords with a new presence in Chicago and New Orleans, where their studios are located. CEO of Keyword Studios, Andrew Day, commented with its 27-year pedigree of game development in global video games market, High Voltage brings incredible experience, expertise, and additional scale to our fast-growing game development service line. Ganofsky, CEO, added, "We are overjoyed with to join an industry with leading. We are overjoyed to join an industry-leading global group such as Keyword Studios. We are tremendously excited that they share our vision for augmenting our development capabilities, and they will provide us with the ability to embark upon a growth trajectory for our business, creating the next gen of AAA games. This is one of several acquisitions made by Keyword Studios in the year, including marketing agency GNet Media, co-development studio Heavy Iron, creating marketing firm Maverick Media, and engineering service Coconut Lizard. Back in May, Keywords raised £100 million to fund the acquisition of services companies facing instability due to COVID-19. Okay, so maybe a little too much information there, but yeah, this is a big one. So, or it's not a big one, actually. It's a big one to me. It's not a big one in the grand scheme of things. But High Voltage Software has been really under the radar for a long time. And what this acquisition basically means is now they will be fully a support studio. They will be co-developing and support roles on various projects and things like that. And they are basically completely off the table as far as creating original IP and new games are, which is really sad, but I just thought this was notable because High Voltage Software was a really notable developer to me because they were big back in the Nintendo Wii days for their series The Conduit, which was this first-person shooter game franchise that was basically aimed at trying to and they did this with a game engine they built specifically designed with the Wii in mind, and the whole purpose of what they were trying to do was create games that look and play as next gen as possible for the Wii, considering the hardware restraints of the Wii, trying to make the games look and run as much like a 360 or a PS3 game at the time as they possibly could. And to their success, they created, I forget what the engine's called now, but they created a really beautiful engine that really made Wii games look and run just wonderfully. Like it made Wii, and keep in mind, the Wii is a 480p non-HD machine, but aside from the fact that it wasn't in HD, just in terms of like lighting and graphics and art style and just in detail and textures, they were able to create an engine that just made games look fucking beautiful on the Nintendo Wii. And they created the Conduit series. They made two of them, Conduit 1 and 2. It was kind of like a generic spin-off, knockoff, like Call of Duty Halo kind of clone game. But it was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed the first one quite a bit. Sega actually published them, or at least here in the States they did. But the second one was actually really good. The second one really kicked things up with phenomenal multiplayer, online multiplayer, and a pretty solid campaign. So I was actually a huge fan of those games at the time, back when I was a bigger Nintendo fan, just constantly trying to die on this hill of like, Nintendo is the best, you guys don't appreciate them, like, oh my god, one day they'll be bigger than Call of Duty and Xbox, whatever. But yeah, I really liked that back then. I was a big fan of that studio. And then lastly, the reason why I mentioned them is because they're the studio that always intrigues me, because the last, now they, as the story mentions, now they work in like support roles. They work on like Fortnite and Mortal Kombat as like one of the many support teams that help these main developers work on these games. But back in the day, the last big like IP, like their own creative IP from the ground up that they were working on that never came out was called The Grinder. Now The Grinder, awful name, really cool looking game. The Grinder was originally revealed as an exclusive for Wii. So their other franchise, The Conduit, was supposed to be like, which did come out, the first two games, Conduit 1 and 2. It was like I said, like a Call of Duty / Halo kind of like clone for Wii. But The Conduit was supposed to be like a Left 4 Dead kind of clone for Wii. So they were they were covering all the bases of everything I loved back in that time, which is like Halo, Black Ops, Left 4 Dead, World at War, whatever. And yeah, so The Grinder looked awesome. It was this game where you played as, it was a 4-player first person, like basically like Left 4 Dead style game where like you work through like these short campaigns and get to safe houses and fight hordes of monsters. But the catch was, you played as like really cool characters. There was like a cowboy, like Western guy. There was like a vampire slayer guy, and they were like different. It was all themed to like different like horror tropes. And rather than just fighting like zombies like Left 4 Dead, it was like you'd fight werewolves and vampires and things like that. So, and demons, and so it was supposed to be like all the generic horror tropes thrown into this one like Left 4 Dead knockoff for Wii. where you play as up to 4 characters, and I believe the characters would be different, like different weapons and personalities and gameplay styles, and it seemed like a really fucking cool game. You can go on YouTube and look this up. There are actual gameplay demos of this running on the Wii from various E3s and developers talking about the game and showing it off, and it looked like it was really far along in development. It looked beautiful, and then the game went quiet for like a year or two, and then it came back as a top-down twin stick shooter. And when it came back like that, they're like, yeah, so now we're making another version of it that will be available for Xbox 360 and PS3. And so on Xbox and PlayStation, it was going to be a top-down twin stick shooter, but on Wii, it was still going to come up as that first-person Left 4 Dead knockoff that looked really pretty and ran that really nice Wii engine. And then after that, the game just silently got canceled and we never heard about it again. And then the studio just went dark and we never heard about them really again. They went back and, before they made like Conduit and Hunter Reckoning and all those games that they were known for, they made like, they did a lot of like contract work for like support work or like movie tie-in and TV show tie-in games. They made like, I think they made like Nickelodeon games and things like that. So they did a lot of that kind of shit, just, work to stay afloat and to give the company work. I think they did like some Dora the Explorer games or some shit like that, but that's a studio that always really interested me from a young age. I remember that being like one of the first like lesser known studios I ever really learned about back when I was young, and I was getting more and more into like the video games industry and just learning about like who makes games and what does this industry look like and like what is there to know about video games. And I don't know, that studio just always holds a special place in my heart because I still like to think to this day, like, I wish that fucking game came out, especially on Xbox. I really wish it came out and was successful, and then they could have made, a sequel to that Left 4 Dead, like, vampire werewolf slaying Left 4 Dead clone for Xbox. I would have played the shit out of that game. I still wish someone would make that, like a Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood-esque game where you play as, like, fucking vampire Van Helsing-looking slaying, like, monster hunters, and you kill vampires and werewolves and mummies and shit like that. I think that would be such a badass game, but it's, look it up. The videos are awesome. It's a really cool looking game, but that's going to do it for all of our big news this week, guys. Let's quickly jump through our handful of important enough news stories important enough to make the podcast, but not important enough to warrant their own discussions. We have a couple of them real quick. So Among Us is now available on Xbox Game Pass for PC, but apparently the small team isn't done just there, because they are bringing Among Us to Xbox consoles in 2021. So stay tuned for more information on that. Windows Central reports that unlike the base version of Control, previously announced Control Ultimate Edition includes a free next-gen upgrade, allowing players to experience the game at its best on Xbox Series X and S. These new next-gen versions of the game are now set to release on February 2nd, 2021. For digital owners, and physical release will be on March 2nd, a month later. Windows Central also reports that the complex farming simulator RPG strategy Stardew Valley has just gotten even deeper due to a massive 5th anniversary patch, which adds entirely new endgame region called Ginger Island, which is part of Fern Islands. The zone features a quest line involving multiple NPCs, a volcano dungeon that changes every time you visit, and a resort you can unlock that'll let villagers visit the island with new beach attire. The update also adds a host of new crops, farm animals, monsters, craftable items, food, fertilizer, fishing tackle, rings, hats, shoes, and more. The game also adds 15 new hairstyles, weapons, and fish. The update is set to hit consoles in early 2021 and mobile devices sometime after that. Our penultimate story here is that from Minecraft.net, the Chills and Thrills event in Minecraft Dungeons has kicked off as of December 18th and will continue to run through December 30th. The event will have 6 new winter-themed trials with 2 new trial modifiers, including a changing number of chests, changing the cooldown on artifacts, and invisible mobs. And the cherry on top of all this Stone Cold Sunday, well, there are 3 unique collectible items as rewards. Slay the snowy fashion game with the Arctic Fox armor, slice your way through the ice with the Frost Slayer, or cut through chilling winds with the Shivering Bow. Each item brings a wintry approach to combat. And lastly, from Xbox Wire, to celebrate the final the finale of the Mandalorian Season 2 on Disney+, Xbox have teamed up with Lucasfilm Games to create 2 new epic Mandalorian-themed Xbox controllers, giving giving Star Wars fans and gamers alike a chance to win a set of exclusive galactic designs. So, the custom controllers feature sketches of the now iconic child character and the Mandalorian character on the other one. Both controllers are designed to have a pop of color, and with affectionately calling Tatooine Tangerine, and his controller is called the Tython Turquoise for the Mandalorian. God damn it. From December 17th through 18th, which is now, fans who are 18 or older and residents of the United States who follow the Xbox account on Twitter can retweet the sweepstakes and tweet with the hashtag Mandalorian Xbox sweepstakes for the chance to win 2 not for sale limited edition controllers in an exclusive Star Wars themed mailer. So you just got to have that. You can go on the Xbox Twitter account, see more, tweet using the hashtag, tweet at them, do your thing. Hopefully you win these children controllers for the Mandalorian, and then we can all go to sleep again. Now, guys, normally this is the part of the podcast where we go over the Xbox new game releases of the week, but I went to the Xbox Wire and there was no posting. There's nothing. I went there. I said, what are the new games released? And there are a total of 0 games apparently coming to Xbox. The Xbox Wire says, screw you. We don't feel like telling you what's going on. So I guess there are no new releases. So I'm sorry we're not able to do that segment this week due to Xbox Wire just not posting anything. But I do have an update on Games with Gold. So as a final or as a penultimate reminder, as I guess we'll have to mention it next week. But for Games with Gold, for the rest of the month, you got The Raven, which you can download now. You've got Bleed 2, which is available till January 15th. You missed out on Saints Row, but you can still get stacking until the 31st. So you got another week to get that game. But they have just announced the January Games with Gold as of this week. So starting in January, these are the games you can look forward to. This is a much better lineup than what we got in December, so let's go through it. So from January 1st through 31st, you got Little Nightmares, which I've never played, but I've heard really good things about. And then from January 16th through February 15th, you've got Dead Rising, the classic zombie game from Capcom. And then from January 1st to 15th, you got the Xbox 360 Classic, The King of Fighters 13, some nerdy shit there. And then lastly, from January 16th through the 31st, you've got Breakdown, an Xbox Classic. I've always wanted to play that game, so I'm actually excited to get that and download it and maybe give it a try finally, but that's what you can look forward to in January, guys. Be sure you download your games with gold. If you're paying for gold, you're already getting these. You're paying for this shit. You just download it. Don't be a dumb idiot. It's $79.96 of value in games with 3,000 gamer score. So don't be a dumb idiot. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for our episode this week. Very Merry Christmas to all of you. Again, this podcast is going up on Christmas Eve, so I assume a lot of you guys are probably going to take some time off. Probably got time off work, spending time with friends or family or whatever, or maybe you're just locking yourself in your apartment because COVID and you don't want to get everyone in your life sick. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what your plans are or what your objectives are. I respect whatever you're going to do, but whatever you do, have a happy, merry holiday because like Starbucks, I don't want to offend anyone by saying anything in particular, but have a great holiday season, guys. Stay safe. Enjoy some relaxing time with people you care about or by yourself or eat some good food or whatever you got to do, but just enjoy yourself. Have a great holiday season. And until next week, power your dreams.
restless on spine. Like fireflies, we light up the sky and hope for something to change our minds tonight. We should know better. Somehow you're the light that caught my eye. I'm afraid of the things I might say tonight. The sun will rise and hide my past. You won't recognize my face, my name. This is what happens. We lose control. This is what happens. We're all contagious in this world. This is what happens. We lose control. This is what happens.